Natural remedies to grow your hair. Do they work or are they a bunch of bunk? For those of you who are new to our channel, my name is Dr. Ross Kopelman. I'm a hair surgeon. And what I want to do today is I really want to show you the organic, natural solutions that do work to stimulate your hair growth. There's a tremendous amount of misinformation that looks at solutions to stimulate hair growth that do not work. And so I'm going to dispel those for you and really break it down. The first organic remedy to discuss is rosemary oil. And the question is, does it work to stimulate hair growth? Well, we just saw a young girl apply rosemary oil from November to February, so over a 3-month period. And in fact, we do see hair growth. There are 2 clinical studies, one going back as far as 2015, looking at how effective rosemary oil is in comparison to minoxidil 2%. And guess what? It is. It's as effective as minoxidil 2%. The question, though, is would I prescribe rosemary oil to my patients? And the answer to that question is the following. I usually prescribe 5% minoxidil because I don't find the 2% minoxidil to be strong enough. With that said, if you are looking for a natural remedy, rosemary oil is potentially a good place to start. If you're thinking about using rosemary to stimulate your hair growth, I recommend using rosemary oil and not rosemary water because it's not going to have the concentration that's really going to make an impact on stimulating hair growth. Now the question is, how does rosemary work to stimulate hair in general? Number 1, there might be vasodilation to blood vessels in the scalp, improving the flow of oxygen and nutrients to the hair follicles. Theory number 2 is that rosemary acts to inhibit an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase, which usually breaks testosterone down into DHT. And DHT is a major driver for hair loss. So if you can decrease the concentration of DHT in our bloodstream, you could potentially have an impact on preventing hair loss. And theory number 3 is that rosemary acts as an antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant for the scalp, where ultimately you are improving the environment for hair to grow.
This is for the girls getting money. This is for the girls that don't need no other self. This is for all the girls that's INDEPENDENT.
Now this is a trend that I've seen all over TikTok where there are young women dipping their hair into cooked rice water. First off, it smells. Number 2, there's no scientific evidence this actually works. I should stress, though, that Asian cultures in China and Japan have used rice water for centuries, and there are stories that allude that it might help with hair growth. Now, rice does have different nutrients and vitamins in it. The question is, do those actually penetrate into the hair follicle to actually have an impact in stimulating hair growth? And right now, the evidence shows that there is no impact on hair growth. In fact, dipping your hair into rice water actually might make your hair more brittle. So you might be doing more harm than good. So caution against using rice water to try to stimulate hair growth.
Here's what it looks like when you put castor oil in your hair for some hair oil pulling. I took the castor oil and I put it all throughout my scalp, really massaged my roots and even the ends of my hair.
I got news for you all. Castor oil does not work to stimulate hair growth. Now, if you think you're getting hair growth, it's an illusion. And the reason for it is because castor oil is very thick, very viscous. So when you add it to your hair, what you're actually doing is you're increasing the thickness of the hair follicle, okay? So imagine you're just creating another layer. So if you do that to all your hair follicles, it's going to create an illusion that you have more hair, but you actually don't. It has no impact in hair growth whatsoever. So if you're trying to look for a remedy to stimulate hair growth, this is not your go-to. Next up is biotin. Now, biotin is an important component that helps build keratin, which is very important for building hair follicles. But the reality is that it's very, very rare for us to have a biotin deficiency. Now, sometimes you'll find biotin in other hair products and as well as in shampoos. But For the most part, you do not need to be taking biotin supplements by themselves. It's just not necessary. It's not going to help you stimulate any more hair growth than you already have. Now, this is a trend I really find very interesting, and that's coconut oil. Now, coconut oil applied to your hair, we all know, will moisturize your hair. But what is so interesting is that coconut oil is primarily made up of lauric acid, which is a triglyceride, has a super high affinity for hair proteins. And so one thing you have to understand is that your hair is made up of keratin. And when that keratin breaks down, you're going to get brittle hair. So by applying coconut oil that has a very high affinity for proteins, you're preserving that keratin. You're preserving essentially the bricks that make up your hair. And so applying coconut oil before a shower, after a shower, might actually help you preserve your hair. Now, what it won't do is it will not stimulate new hair growth. You really have to understand that. But again, coconut oil is a great option in your arsenal if you want to try to protect your hair. So last up is pumpkin seed oil, and I find this one really interesting. There was a study done in 2014 looking at men who had mild to moderate alopecia, hair loss. They took pumpkin seed supplements for a couple of months, and they found that these men had a 40% increase in hair growth compared to placebo. Now, the theory is that pumpkin seed oil works by inhibiting an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. The same theory that we talked about with rosemary oil. And the idea is that by blocking this enzyme, 5-alpha reductase, you can decrease the amount of floating DHT, which is a major driver for hair loss. Now, there's a lot of research that still needs to be done, but it shows promising results that this potentially could be used to stimulate hair growth. We're really at the infant stages of finding other ways to stimulate hair growth beyond just using medications. But now you know about all the options that are out there. Some of them work, some of them don't work. And we went through a lot of the common ones that have been trending throughout social media. I hope this was effective, this video. I hope you learned a lot. I would love to learn about your hair journey. If you've used any of these remedies, please leave your comments below. I would love to learn about your experience. If you want to know about other organic ways to stimulate your hair that I have not addressed today, let me know about that as well. And I'm here for you. We're going to take this journey together, and we're going to help grow your hair together.